He just put out a truth statement. If you haven't seen it yet, I encourage you to look at it. But I was just talking with the president and the Secretary of State, the Vice President, and it was a very good and productive call. It lasted more than 2 hours. There were various issues that were discussed. President Putin congratulated President Trump for solving the conflict in Israel and Gaza and bringing peace back to the Middle East. He also thanked the First Lady for her efforts to bring back children and save children in this brutal conflict. And the president feels like great progress was made on this call. They also agreed to have a high-level senior staff meeting convened as early as next week, which will then be followed by a meeting very likely between President Trump and President Putin as well. They talked about Budapest as being a location for that. So as you all know, President Zelensky is coming to the White House tomorrow, so these discussions will continue. And frankly, I think the president deserves great credit. He literally just got off of a trip to the Middle East where historic peace and accomplishments, seeing the hostages return out of Gaza. These are major foreign policy accomplishments that so many people around the world thought could never be achieved. And so I think the president deserves a great deal of credit for doing that, coming home, dealing with so many domestic issues, and then again, hopping on yet another call with President Putin and hosting President Zelensky again at the White House tomorrow to try to move the ball forward in peace and end this conflict in Russia. That's where we are.
Thank you. After their meeting in Alaska, the president was optimistic that he could get Zelensky and Putin together in a room. Does he still believe that he can get the two leaders together sometime soon?
I think he thinks it's possible, and he would, of course, love to see that happen. But right now, there were discussions and plans are now being made for the Russian side and our folks, led by Secretary of State Marco Rubio, to meet, and then for President Putin and President Trump to perhaps meet again. But I don't think the president has closed the door on that at all.
And when you said in Hungary, possibly when?
Well, this call literally just happened, so we will provide you with more details as soon as we can, I promise.
On that note, did Vladimir Putin commit to sitting down with President Trump and President Zelensky?
He committed to sitting down with President Trump, as President Trump's truth post put out for you.
And what do you say what it would take for him to be willing to sit down with Zelensky finally as well?
I don't want to get into that, but as I just said, the president and President Putin discussed meeting together in Budapest, and President Trump will talk about that opportunity with President Zelensky when he's here at the White House tomorrow.
Does Trump believe any conditions have changed to make a second meeting with Putin better, more successful than the Alaska meeting?
I think the president is always willing to take a chance at diplomacy, and this war, he has always said, is going to have to end at the negotiating table, and so he's, he never gives up, and he's willing to pursue it, and that's what you're hearing from the president today.
I have a question on the cartels. Yesterday we learned that at least the fifth strike on a boat off of the Venezuelan coast took place. We know that the Trump administration has previously said that they are in armed conflict with the people that the administration is striking. Who are these people? And don't you think not only the people, the American people, but lawmakers deserve to know who they are?
Narco-terrorists who are trafficking drugs illegally to the United States of America. That's who we're in a conflict with. And the president's been very clear, and he's been very transparent about these strikes, releasing classified video, unclassifying that video, declassifying it rather for all of you to see, and to let the public and lawmakers know with each of these strikes. And there should be no surprise for this. The president campaigned on using every lever of power to go after the drug cartels who have been trafficking illicit poison into our country for far too long. And you heard the president speak about this yesterday. There was a question about why not just use the Coast Guard to grab these boats and grab the drugs on them. That's been going on for years and years, and the drug epidemic in this country has not gotten any better. The cartels have only gotten more powerful. So the president is taking these unprecedented steps, and it's making a real impact. We are seeing less boats with lots of drugs coming into the shores of the United States of America as a result of these successful strikes, and I think the American people can expect them to continue.
Nicholas Maduro. Nicholas Maduro.
Change of leadership at the IRS, specifically putting some of Trump's main allies into leadership positions in the Criminal Investigations Division. There's reports that George Santos is on the list to be investigated. Is there anybody else that you know of that is being looked at or being mentioned of being looked at?
Not to my knowledge, no. You'll have to reach out to the Department of Treasury.
Nicholas Maduro. Does President Trump believe, Nicholas Maduro, the president of Venezuela, does President Trump believe his days are numbered there?
I think President Trump believes that Nicolas Maduro is an illegitimate president leading an illegitimate regime that has been trafficking drugs to the United States of America for far too long, and we're not going to tolerate it.
Right now,
Has President Trump set a new deadline on Hamas? I mean, yesterday he said, straightened out quickly. But I mean, do we have an update on sort of what that means, what that new deadline could look like?
I won't set a deadline for the president. It's only for him to do that. But what I can tell you is that Steve Woodcock and Jared Kushner, who deserve great credit for bringing this deal to a close, for getting the hostages out of Gaza in the first place, are actively working on this. They are continuing to discuss this with both sides to ensure that all of the bodies are found and returned. And, I speaking with them about this yesterday, I know there's been a lot of reporting about the slower pace of bodies being returned to Israel. These bodies, unfortunately, are very deep underground, and so it's going to take some time and some special equipment to actually retrieve these bodies and bring them back to Israel. And the administration is fully committed to helping all sides get that done. It was part of the deal, and we're going to see it through.
Thanks.
Does the White House have a response to the court case that prevented your shutdown rifts going through? Does that take away the president's leverage to end the shutdown?
I'm so glad you asked, because I have a very strong response. This is another far-left partisan judge who was smacked down by the Supreme Court in July for ruling on this exact same thing. In May, this judge tried to say that the President of the United States does not have the executive authority to hire and fire in the executive branch. Literally, nobody would ever try to make that argument except for someone who is extremely partisan. And of course, the Supreme Court rejected that ruling in July, and they said, no, the president does have the ability and the legal authority to fire people from the federal government. That is a responsibility of his job as the head of the executive branch. And so you have the same judge going back to the bench and ruling on the basis of politics. We are 100% confident we will win this on the merits of the law, and these layoffs are an unfortunate consequence of the government shutdown. We are now on day 16 of this Democrat shutdown. Democrats just voted again for the 10th time to keep the government closed and to keep the American people hostage. And we're seeing the consequences of it every day. We've had thousands of flights delayed and canceled. Air traffic controllers, TSA agents continue to work without pay. The president tapped into tariff revenue to keep WIC money for women and infants and children going out the door. The president, it found a creative solution to keep the troops paid. And rather than congratulate the president for doing that, this unprecedented action to get our troops paid, the Democrats want to sue him for it. They're saying that it's illegal. This just shows they don't care about the people who are hurting. They are shutting down the government purely for partisan politics because they don't like Donald Trump. And the only people that are suffering from that are federal government employees who are being laid off from their jobs, who are not being paid for their jobs, our military, our federal law enforcement, and the American people who can't catch a plane with holiday season coming up because flights are being delayed and canceled. Democrats need to do the right thing. And I don't know if you guys caught the CNN town hall last night with AOC and Bernie Sanders, but I sure did. And it's very clear that they are now the leaders of the Democrat Party. And the Democrats are in complete disarray. And we hope a few moderate Democrats with some common sense will step up to the plate and do the right thing to vote to open the federal government.
Thank you, Caroline.
That the subject of that innovation integrates with the federal government, and that's the case here. Those who are in the cryptocurrency business and in the blockchain technology business don't know who to talk to in the federal government. The Securities and Exchange Commission has announced under President Biden that it has jurisdiction over digital assets, and so did the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, the CFTC. And there's been a lot of litigation, and there have been a lot of court cases.
Calendar
and it's been enormously
168, HR
confusing.
5371.
And those in the
Executive
the
calendar
crypto
number
business,
460.
understandably,
Without
have
objection.
the reaction.
Thank you,
Look,
Mr.
we
President.
don't mind being
Mr. President, today
regulated.
is
We have
day
nothing to
16
hide.
of the Schumer shutdown.
But we don't
Democrats have an
want we'd like to
opportunity
know who
to
to
end the
talk to.
charade
Is
today.
it the
We'll be voting in the next few
CFTC?
moments.
Is it the SEC?
I expect
What
they
do we
won't.
do?
Why?
And that's why
well,
we need
for
legislation.
starters,
That's why we need
minority
market structure
leader
legislation,
believes
not because
every day gets
because
better for us. I'm
government
not sure who
needs
the
to
us
stick
is,
its nose
but
and
that's
everything,
what he believes.
but because there has to be some certainty.
You must be
here.
talking about Democrat
Clearly, there's a
leadership,
turf
Democrat
war between
politicians.
the
Can't be talking
CFTC
about
and the
people all
SEC.
across the country,
And it's Congress's
not the
role
people who work
to
every day to
delineate
keep our country safe.
who has
Not the
jurisdiction
federal workers
over
who aren't
over
getting
what.
paid.
Now,
Oh, no,
we
he
did
can't be
pass
talking
one
about
piece
them
of what
when
you
he
might call
refers to
crypto
every
legislation.
day
We
gets
passed
better for us.
the Genius Act.
What
as you
Senator
know,
Schumer
Mr.
and Democrats
President.
in this body are really
That was an
saying
important
is
piece
this.
of legislation, but it really was
Every
just a
day
baby
of this
step.
Schumer
It
shutdown
regulates stable coins,
strengthens their alliances with
which is
the
only
far
one
left
part
activist groups.
of the digital assets.
These radicals hold the reins of
business.
today's
I'm certainly
Democrat
not
Party.
denigrating the
They're
effort. I
driving the
voted for
stagecoach.
bill. I sit on the banking.
Schumer's not leading this. Jeffries
Passed
isn't leading it. The people that are driving the stagecoach are the left-wing activists, and they are driving it over the cliff. Let me give you another reason why I suspect Democrats will once again refuse to reopen the government. It's because the far-left activist groups are pressuring the Democrats to keep the government closed until after their radical anti-America rally, which is going to be held this weekend. The rally, which some have labeled the I Hate America rally, is going to take place Saturday, and there'll be rallies in D.C. and across the country. We've just heard from the minority leader on the floor inviting people to attend these rallies, to participate, what I have referred to and others have as the I Hate America rally. He is a cheerleader for these far left activist groups and their causes. All these rallies are going to be led by the far left activists, and all will be calling on the Democrats to keep the government closed. And the Democrats in this body are beholden to every single one of these far left activist groups, groups like, quote, #ResistTrump and American Atheists. So here's a headline from Politico. Chuck Schumer's critics are satisfied for now. The article goes on to quote the head of the far-left activist group called Indivisible. This group is organizing Saturday's radical rally. The leader of the far-left group says of the minority leader, he said, quote, "He hasn't surrendered yet. I call that progress, and we're cheering him on now." Well, 7 months ago, that same person had a very different message for the minority leader. That same person said, quote, "Senator Schumer should step aside as leader. Every Democrat in the Senate should call for him to do so." So what changed? Well, Senator Schumer started towing the line of the far-left group. He shut down the government in spite of the fact that 13 times when Joe Biden was president, he voted for a clean continuing resolution to keep the government open. Well, what changed? Well, the minority leader is now the puppet of the radical, extreme, dangerous, scary wing of his party. He's huddled with the far-left activist group for months before this shutdown. Months. They organized this shutout in Senator Schumer's office. They organized a war room for the shutdown. They're calling the tune. Senator Schumer even gloated to Punchbowl News, quote, "We thought about this long in advance. This isn't something that just happened. They've been planning this. This is premeditated. It's a political game for Senator Schumer and the Democrats, and it is a dangerous game for every other American. People aren't receiving paychecks because Senate Democrats want to prove their allegiance to the far left. Democrats want a standing ovation this Saturday when they rise to address the radical wing of their party, the wing that's holding the reins and holding them tightly, a wing that's extreme, dangerous, and scary, that is pro-crime and anti-America. That's what we're facing, Mr. President. Senate Democrats want to be cheered on for holding hostage the paychecks of the TSA agents and air traffic controllers. Meanwhile, Americans are sick and tired of Democrats' dangerous political games. They just want to get back to work. Today, Democrats are going to have an opportunity to prove that they aren't beholden to the far left of the party. We're going to have a vote. We're going to vote on a bipartisan appropriations bill as well to fund the Department of Defense, to fund the war fighters, the troops, the people who keep our nation and our allies safe. Now, Mr. President, this bill has already come through a bipartisan appropriations committee. The vote was 26-3. 26 voted for it, only 3 voted against it. That same bill we're bringing to the floor today. And we're going to see if the Democrats are going to work with us on the bipartisan appropriation bill. They claim they want regular order. They claim they want things to work together. And it's a bill that they have said themselves it's necessary. Now, remember, Senator Schumer last year didn't bring a single appropriations bill to this floor of the Senate, in spite of the fact the 12 bipartisan bills passed out of the committee. He refused to bring any of them to this floor to fund the government when he was majority leader. Wonder who he's going to side with today. Senate Republicans this year have already approved 3 appropriations bills to fund the government. This will be the 4th. Democrats are holding the government hostage. They're holding the American people hostage. Republicans are committed to reopen the government. We are going to vote against that today. We're holding votes on our bipartisan, clean, continuing resolution, one that Democrats have voted on 13 times in favor of when Joe Biden was in the White House. Now, I believe that Democrats have an opportunity as well as an obligation to end the Schumer shutdown. We should end it today. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the floor.
Mr. President.
Democrat Whip.
Mr. President, last week we learned that Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Corina Machado.
Market structure legislation. So perhaps we can pick the best of each. And that would be an appropriate topic of a hearing as well. And these issues I'm addressing are illustrative. They're not exhaustive. But we also need to address the issue of what, if any, fiduciary responsibility those who participate in the digital assets markets have. I'm talking about commodity brokers. I'm talking digital commodity brokers. I'm talking about digital.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to day 16 of the Democrat shutdown. The Schumer shutdown is very real and very painful for real Americans. We're going to share a little bit about that situation with you this morning, and then get an update on one specific segment regarding Homeland Security and what that's doing for the security of our country. If you're keeping count, 9 times the Senate Democrats have voted to keep the government closed. All the House Democrats except one voted September 19th to shut it down. So this is 10 total times now that Democrats in Congress have voted to close the government. And we know what that means for real people. We know what it means for our troops and our Border Patrol agents and TSA agents and air traffic controllers and everybody who relies upon services around the country. It's very real. And so today marks yet another day of American families feeling the very real personal and economic strain of this reckless decision that our Democrat colleagues keep making. They want the United States government to remain closed, and they seem not to care about the pain that it's causing. They have offered no plan. They have offered no strategy. They have offered no common sense path forward for ending this situation. And so many of you have asked all of us, how will it end? We have no idea. It's up to the Democrats, and they have to decide it. And judging by their outrageous behavior, the Democrats appear perfectly happy to keep the political theater going while real people suffer. And that's why House Republicans made the responsible decision for our members to spend this week in their districts working for the people. They're helping their constituents. They're helping the American people navigate the mess that the Democrats have created. Staying back to work with our constituents was a decision that we made very thoughtfully and we made collectively as a group, House Republicans. We have so much of that work to do. This is not some talking point. It's not some strategic tactic. We made that decision out of urgent necessity. So I want to highlight here just this morning, just very briefly, just a couple of examples, a small sample of some of the very important work that House Republicans are doing on the ground right now to help Americans through this difficult time. In the state of Michigan, for example, our members are sitting down with veterans, men and women who risked their lives for our country, and they're struggling now because the services they depend on, health services, for example, have come to a halt thanks to the Schumer shutdown. So in Michigan, our Republicans from the House are there working through those situations. In Texas, many of our Republican colleagues have met with some of our brave Border Patrol agents down on that southern border who are still reporting for duty without a paycheck. In Montana, Congressman Ryan Zinke helped park rangers who are keeping the parks open as best they can for families and travelers, even as they themselves go without a paycheck. Across the Midwest, we have members who are meeting with local and regional airports to hear firsthand how furloughs and blocked paychecks there are hurting the people who keep our skies safe. Really important stuff. In rural communities around the country, Republicans are working hand in hand with their local hospitals to make sure that the $50 billion rural hospital fund that Republicans got signed into law in July 4th is accessed. It reaches the people who need it. And they're doing that work while the Democrats are demanding to kill that essential fund that is in their counterproposal for the CR, one of the many outrageous things they claim they want to do. And everywhere across America right now, we're helping small business owners and farmers and ranchers and service coordinators navigate frozen loans and delayed emergency funds and growing uncertainty about how to keep serving their communities. So all across the country, Republicans are dealing with the very real and painful consequences facing real Americans. Now, that's happening on the Republican side. And what's happening on the Democrat side? You can see it for yourself. Compare what I just told you with what they're doing. Look at their own behavior. Look at their actions. Don't listen to the words that people are saying. Look at what they're doing. Chuck Schumer and Democrats over the last 10 days, here's a small sample of their activity, okay? We've seen performative stunts and TikToks and photo shoots across every inch of this Capitol. We've seen Democrats actually toast themselves on the balcony of the DCCC last night, while their colleagues voted in the Senate to keep the government closed for the 10th time. We've seen not one but two failed publicity stunts right outside my own office, the latest of which ended in a congresswoman storming the entrance and berating a Capitol police officer who, by the way, is protecting her without pay. And last night, we even saw, I didn't see it, many of you saw it, CNN host the first socialist town hall where Bernie Sanders and AOC said the quiet parts out loud. They don't know what they want to end the shutdown. They couldn't provide a single viable solution for the mess that they themselves have gleefully created. And by the way, those are the real leaders of the Democrat Party. We all know it, AOC and Bernie. Good luck with that. And amid all that, Chuck Schumer is actually bragging that every day gets better for his party. As you know, that is his words, not ours. All this would be laughable if it didn't come at the cost of American families, and it really is deadly serious. If it were up to Republicans alone, we would not be in this mess. We'd be up here negotiating and debating openly and transparently on the issues impacting Americans' lives. But as I've said repeatedly, Democrats slammed the brakes on legislative business when they decided to shut down the government for their partisan political purposes. The progress we made on appropriations and the conversations that were underway on the COVID-era Obamacare subsidies and all those issues, all that sits at a standstill until Democrats reopen the government. As soon as 5 Senate Democrats come to their senses and break ranks and turn the lights back on, House Republicans are anxious to get back to legislative session and to pick up our unfinished business. We have a lot yet to do. Until then, I'll continue to share the facts from this podium every morning to try to get this message directly to the American people. Republicans will continue serving on the job in our communities on behalf of the American people that we represent. I'm going to conclude this morning by saying this again. there's an incredible contrast right now between the two parties that could not be more clear. As we say here every day, this is not your grandfather's Democratic Party. It truly has become the far left, Marxist left, that are running that whole operation. And it has real effects on real people. And I just want you to, I'll highlight again the split screen of what we're seeing. In America right now, there are two diametrically opposed visions for the country, and you should look at the actions of elected officials and not their words. And what are the actions? President Trump and Republicans are delivering for the American people. We have cut their taxes. We are removing red tape and regulations to get the economy humming again. We have ended the border crisis, virtually zero crossings in the last 4 months under President Trump. We are ending the crime crisis around America, taking heroic measures to make sure that happens. We're cutting fraud, waste, and abuse out of government and making government more efficient and effective for the people. And right now, President Trump is resolving international conflicts, restoring peace through strength around the globe. That's just a small sampling of what's been done by Republicans in the last 9 months. And what have Democrats done for the last 9 months? On the split screen, look at the other side. They've shut down the government. I mean, I don't know what else to say. Put all the gimmicks and the talking points aside and look at the indisputable facts and evidence of what is happening right here. There could not be a stronger contrast between the two parties, and I don't know how more simply we can say that. With all that, I'm really happy to introduce our good friend from New York. Chairman Andrew Garbarino is the chair of our House Committee on Homeland Security, and he's here with us this morning to tell us a little bit more about the grave consequences of the Democrat shutdown on America's national security. It could not be more serious than it is right now. Andrew, go ahead.
Thank you, Speaker.
Sure.
Thank you, Speaker, and Leader Scalise and Chairman McClain. Thank you all for being here today. The Senate Democrats' decision to shut down this government for cheap political points lacks any common sense and is undermining the Department of Homeland Security's core mission, as well as the people tasked with upholding it. Nearly 95% of DHS's workforce is considered essential, and that's rightfully so. But that means they're at work right now and they're not getting paid. More than 63,000 CBP personnel, including U.S. Border Patrol, are continuing their steadfast commitment to securing our borders. More than 61,000 TSA personnel are continuing their mission to protect the traveling public and keep the skies safe. More than 8,000 Secret Service personnel are still carrying out their no-fail mission to safeguard our nation's leaders. More than 49,000 U.S. Coast Guard personnel are serving to protect our maritime borders. I'm grateful that President Trump and Secretary Noem are taking steps to ensure that the Coast Guard personnel are getting paid, just like our military during the shutdown. And I appreciate the department's continued work to support frontline law enforcement officers. I think, though, it's also very vital that we ensure that TSA security officers are compensated as well. Just because the government shut down doesn't mean people aren't still flying. We owe all of these men and women at DHS a debt of gratitude for their continued service. But the shutdown is not just about personnel. It's undercutting our Homeland Security posture. A lapse in government funding prevents DHS from moving forward with critical new investments that enable us to stay ahead of rapidly evolving threats. New contracts are put on hold, and proactive engagements with security partners are postponed. Shutdowns also disrupt the disbursement of vital grants from the Homeland Security Department to our state and local law enforcement partners. This undermines preparedness efforts and makes our communities less safe. Voting against the CR also, the Democrats have allowed crucial DHS authorities to expire. One of those is the Cybersecurity Information Sharing Act of 2015. Without that, 90% of our critical infrastructure is owned by private companies. They can't communicate with us right now. They can't tell us when there's a cyber attack because this lapsed. Every second we go without the ability for them to share that information makes us less safe. They've also, the counter-drone authority has also lapsed. That was in the CR. Without this in place, agencies may not be able to swiftly take down malicious drones before they threaten U.S. airspace. There are dozens more. In short, this shutdown is making our country less safe. And I implore Senate Democrats to do the right thing and reopen the government now. With that, I would like to bring up Leader Scalise. Thank you. Well, you just heard
a very stark, grim reality from Chairman Garbarino of what Chuck Schumer's shutdown is doing to our nation's ability to protect the homeland. The Department of Homeland Security is one of the most critical in terms of our ability to keep Americans safe here at home. And they're doing incredible work. And, fortunately, like Chairman Garbarino said, 95% of the employees are deemed essential, but they're on the job not getting paid. But beyond that, he also pointed out grants are not going out. The sharing of information on things like cybersecurity is not happening. These are real devastating consequences of Chuck Schumer's shutdown. And nobody on the Democrat side can still articulate the reason why they're doing it beyond the obvious. And the obvious reason is Chuck Schumer being scared for his political future. Scared from who? From AOC. And last night, as the speaker mentioned, we saw two of the Democrat Party leaders, Bernie Sanders and AOC, at a forum, town hall, whatever you want to call it, on CNN. And they were laughing, they were guffawing like it's some kind of game. In fact, when AOC was pressed to say, what is it that y'all are shutting the government down over? She couldn't even give an articulate answer. This is what she said, quote, "I think we need to see ink on paper. I think we need to see legislation. And I think we need to see these things passed on the floor of the House and Senate and signed by the president." Can anybody tell me what she's talking about? I mean, they filed an alternative bill that everybody knows is not serious, $1.5 trillion in new spending to do, among other things, to gut the Rural Hospital Fund, the $50 billion that we put in place, the largest investment in rural hospitals in our country's history. They want to gut that to give free health care to illegals? That's not going to happen, and that's not a serious proposal. But in fact, when you get back to the heart of the question, and that is Chuck Schumer fighting for his political life in New York, they did ask AOC that question. Are you going to primary Chuck Schumer? And she laughed, and Bernie tried to bail her out of the question, but ultimately she wouldn't give a direct response to that, because that's really what this shutdown is about. Is Chuck Schumer afraid of the AOC wing of the party primarying and beating him in New York? And so he's just concerned about his political future, and he's willing to jeopardize the lives of the American people, to jeopardize our homeland security abilities that Chairman Garbarino talked about. These are serious consequences to real people, men and women in uniform, our federal workers that are not getting paid. All for what? For the gibberish you heard last night? They cannot articulate even what they want. We presented a clean CR that Chuck Schumer himself voted for in March. Very straightforward bill to fund the government and open it up just to give us more time to negotiate our differences. Very big differences that we have on policy, but we can't even get to those policy negotiations while Chuck Schumer is shutting down the government. So Senator Thune's doing a great job of trying to find a way to keep bringing the bills back up until one day just 5 more senators on the Democrat side come to their senses and say they're willing to get the government back open so we can resume those negotiations. And we stand ready. We've done our job in the House, and we're ready to get back to work. There's a lot of work stacking up, but while Chuck Schumer keeps the government shut down, it's hurting millions of real families across America. With that, turn it over to our conference chair, Lisa McClain.
Thank you, Leader, and thank you, Rep. Garbarino, for being here and the work that you're doing on the Homeland Security. Here we are. Democrats have shut down your government now for 16 days. So I think we all want to know, what have the Democrats done with all this time on their hands, right? Well, let's see. They've posed for glossy photos outside the Capitol. They've screamed at Capitol police officers who, by the way, they are refusing to pay, right? They've jumped on TV to what looks like an audition to be the next radical in charge after Chuck Schumer. And now they're gearing up for their I Hate America rally this weekend. A rally where they'll cheer for chaos instead of country. So take note of what goes on at that rally. Take note of how they put Americans first, really. Now, Let's contrast that with Republicans who are doing what we always do, and that is actually working for the American people. And let me give you some examples, and I know our speaker talked about this, but I think this bears repeating again. Pat Fallon, who was in Texas hosting a town hall. Congressman LaLota connected with more than 8,000 of his constituents in New York doing a teletown hall. Congressman Collins held mobile office hours in Georgia. Congressman Walberg in my home state of Michigan brought veterans together in Michigan to tackle problems right now with the VA. Congressman Zinke actually rolled up his sleeves, I mean literally rolled up his sleeves in Montana to help Yellowstone National Park to clean it up. That's the difference. One side delivers solutions and the other are showboats. Republicans passed a clean CR to keep the government open. No gimmicks, no tricks. We actually want to govern. We did our job, and then we got back to work for the people who actually sent us here. Democrats, they saw a shutdown as leverage, as a chance to push for more wasteful spending. And don't take my word for it. Look at what they want to do, $1.5 trillion. You should never use a shutdown as leverage for more wasteful spending. But that's exactly what the Democrats are doing. Well, I have news for them. It's not going to work. Republicans are united behind the work that we've done for the American people. We will not hand out government benefits to illegals on your dime. We will not repeal provisions that cut waste, fraud, and abuse. And we will not cave to Democrats' $1.5 trillion in spending. So it's time for the Democrats to wrap up the photo shoots, stop actually attacking law enforcement, and end the who's more radical contest. Let's pass our clean bill and get back to work for the American people who sent us here. Thank you.
All right, time for questions. Chad, go ahead.
Mr. Speaker, good morning.
Good morning.
I know what Republicans have said, saying the shutdown is because Schumer is afraid of Ocasio-Cortez. There have been questions to Ocasio-Cortez, Schumer, saying, is this because you're afraid? Are you going to challenge in a primary? They deny that. I understand the tension here about the shutdown, but just because you're saying that that's the case does not necessarily make that true. When they deny that, why should we continue to say, okay, it's because they're worried about their left flank, or Schumer's worried about Ocasio-Cortez challenging him in a primary?
Well, look, I'll be intellectually consistent and tell you don't listen to what politicians say. Look at the actual evidence. I can put on my evidence here. First, Exhibit A is what AOC actually said last night. She did not disclaim that she was running against Schumer, and there's a lot to talk about that. You don't have to take my word for it. Most of you have written about that. But then also look at the evidence. Exhibit B would be what happened in March. And when we began all this, I think at the first or second day of the shutdown, I brought you a magazine cover that I had on a big stack on my desk, the Washington Examiner, and it was a cartoon depiction of Chuck Schumer leaving the Senate with a box with all his belongings as if he'd been fired, and he had this shameful look on his face, and all the House Democrats were drawn behind him, screaming at him, holding up signs saying he was a traitor, etc. And that's the abuse he took from the far left corners of the base after he did the right and responsible thing, by his own words, not mine, the right and responsible thing to pass the continuing resolution in March. We have the identical product on the table today. What has changed? Don't take our word for it. Just go look. The only explanation for this is that Chuck Schumer does not want to face the heat and the scrutiny and the abuse that he took in March for doing the right, responsible thing by the far left voices in his party. When Bernie and AOC get the full stage for a CNN, the first socialist town hall, I hope they're proud of themselves. They are the voices of the party. I mean, they are. Look, Mamdani is on path, shockingly, sadly, frighteningly, to become the elected mayor of the largest city in America, the once cradle of capitalism. There is a Marxist rise within the Democratic Party, and the old guard, and I'm saying old guard, Chuck Schumer's been here for 44 years, okay? He is not the flavor of the month, and he knows that he's going to get a challenge. If it's not AOC, it'll be another disciple of Mamdani or somebody like that. They all know that. Ask Hakeem Jeffries why he has not openly endorsed Mamdani for the mayor of New York. He's in a real bind. Because Hakeem Jeffries, while he's a far-left progressive politician, he's not a communist. But you have to aspire, you have to say, you have to stand for the farthest left ideas, socialism, communism, Marxism right now, to be in favor in the Democratic Party. This is not your grandfather's Democratic Party. They wouldn't recognize it. And that's the dynamic that Chuck Schumer is dealing with, and that's why he's drawn the line right here. He had to show a fight, and everybody knows it. It is plainly on display. Yes.
News broke this week of the racist Hitler-loving group chat among young Republicans, including Vermont State Senator, and then an American flag with a swastika was found in a Republican congressman's office this week. Are you worried about that extremist pro-Hitler sentiment among the party's young Republicans?
No. Look, obviously, we roundly condemn any of that nonsense. And the Young Republican or the organization, whoever that, I don't know who any of these people are. I never heard of them. Somebody posted a photo of me standing next to these guys. We were in tuxedos. Obviously, I think it was at the inauguration, and people were just coming up and asking for selfies with 1,000 of them. I don't know. I've never heard of that person in my life. But whoever these young people are, and whatever they're saying, if it's true, we obviously condemn that, and the organizations involved are dealing with that. That's my understanding. With regard to the swastika thing, this happened last night. A Republican congressman, allegedly one of his staffers had something in the background or something in a Zoom. That's what I heard this morning. He says that that's not his, and there's a proper investigation ongoing, and the congressman did exactly what he should have done, and that is report it. It's under investigation, and I can't comment on it any further until that's done, but I will say, obviously, that is not the principles of the Republican Party. We stand for the founding principles of America. You want me to articulate them for you right now? Individual freedom, limited government, the rule of law, peace through strength, fiscal responsibility, free markets, human dignity, the things that lead to human flourishing. We have stood against that. We fought the Nazis. We defended that evil ideology. We roundly condemn it, and anybody in any party who espouses it, we're opposing that. I don't know how else more simply to say that. Yes, sir.
Back on the shutdown, Leader Thune has offered Democrats a vote by the end of the year on Obamacare subsidies. Would you be willing to make the same commitment to sort of ease the shutdown?
Let me tell you what happened yesterday, because I met with Leader Thune, and he offered to Chuck Schumer a vote on Obamacare subsidies, and Schumer said no. that happened. I asked Leader Thune about it because they wanted a guaranteed outcome. Here's why we can't do that. Let me say this very clearly and for everyone again. Okay. The Obamacare subsidy issue is not the issue of today. It is in a subsidy that expires December 31. We were always planning to continue the debate and discussion about that issue in October and November. Ironically, Democrats are taking the time off the clock for us to do that. It's a very complicated, complex matter. There are no income caps on that. By the way, did you know if you're a hardworking taxpayer, middle-class earner, and your family's struggling to put food on the table, did you know that you are subsidizing wealthy people's health care with that subsidy? You probably didn't. The premiums have risen by some estimates 60% since Obamacare was enacted into law in 2010. There's no way to repeal and replace it because it's too deeply ingrained right now. We have to improve it. Republicans are the ones with the ideas to increase access to care, the quality of care, and bring down the cost. Not the Democrats. They're the ones that gave us this problem, and they're the ones that have made it so expensive. Now, we have 535 members between the House and Senate. There's a lot of people in this deliberative body here. That's a very complicated issue. It's not something that 4 people can go into a back room and guarantee an outcome on. It can't be done. It was not possible to be part of the CR, and it is not feasible. It's not appropriate to be on the CR. We require the member-driven consensus process here, and that's what's necessary. So it's not possible for Leader Thune to guarantee to Chuck Schumer some outcome on that because we haven't finished those deliberations. I mean, that's just as simple as it is, and all of you report on the Hill all the time. You know how the process works. So when Leader Thune offered Schumer a vote on the ACA, on the subsidy without guaranteeing an outcome, Schumer said, nope, no thanks, we'll keep it closed. Because, by the way, remember, every day of the shutdown gets better for us, as Chuck Schumer said, okay? It's not getting better for the American people.
Were you not committed to holding a vote on ACA subsidy?
No, I didn't say that. I did not say that, Reed. I said none of us can guarantee an outcome on that. I have said consistently all along, this is part of the deliberative process. We're going to debate and discuss that. And there are debates and discussions going on our side of the aisle and on theirs, but to get everybody together and build that consensus is not possible until we get the government operating again and we stop holding I get very upset about that. We stop holding the American people hostage for these ridiculous political games. People see what's going on here. We should not have Border Patrol agents not paid right now because Chuck Schumer wants to pay political games to cover his tail. I don't know how much more simply to say that, and every single one of you know that's exactly what's going on. I don't like being Mad Mike. I want to be Happy Mike. I want to be the happy warrior, but I am so upset about this. God bless America. We're done. Thanks.
Increase in arrests. We got, and we really went after the bad ones. These include 725 individuals wanted for violent crimes against children and murderers. These arrests are in addition to the work of our historic federal task forces that Make D.C. Safe Task Force has been unbelievable. I mean, the job they've done it's incredible, and it's been so nice because so many people, they're going out to dinner and they're having dinners. They didn't go out for 4 years, and now they're going out 3 times a week. The restaurants are opening, restaurants are full, and usually that means a lot of good things. But restaurants that were closed are now opening up, and everybody's happy. It's nobody's ever seen anything like it, actually, and everybody feels safe. You can have a child walk right through the middle of Washington, D.C., and nothing's going to happen. We were losing more than 1 person a week in Washington. They're being killed on an average of over 1 a week. The Make D.C. Safe Task Force has been incredible, and the Make Memphis Safe Task Force is having very similar results. It's much earlier, but we've been there for a week and a half, but I'm hearing the results are pretty incredible, and you'll hear about that. They're mobilizing more than 20 federal agencies for the largest law enforcement operation targeting violent criminals in American history. As a result of these efforts, violent crime declined nearly 20% nationwide compared to the same period last year, and it was the safest and most peaceful summer in 2 decades. And honestly, we haven't really even gotten going yet. If we didn't have to fight all of these radical left governors, we could have had Chicago taken care of, as an example. They had, in a short period of time, 4,000 murders in Chicago, and we have to listen to this man stand up and say that we're bad people. And the people of Chicago are walking around with MAGA hats. You have women, beautiful black women, walking around with MAGA hats. Please let the president in, and we don't care how he does it. They're not interested in National Guard or Army, Navy, bring them in, Marines, bring in the Marines. They just want the crime to stop, and more so because of the success that we had in D.C. I think if we didn't have that success, nobody would even believe it. So I want to congratulate all of the incredible law enforcement professionals joining us today, especially Attorney General Pam Bondi, who's terrific, Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, who is a fantastic legal talent. He really is. He's a great guy, too. And, of course, FBI Director Kash Patel. They have worked so hard on this and other things. Since the start of the administration, the FBI has arrested over 23,000 violent criminals, more than double the number arrested in the final year of the Biden disaster. The FBI has also destroyed or severely disrupted more than 170 organized criminal enterprises and gangs, 1,600 of the most violent gangs, and confiscated over 6,000 illegal firearms. And they've tracked down and arrested 4 fugitives on the most wanted list. 4 of the most wanted. Actually, 2 of them were the most wanted fugitives in the world. There's still much more work to be done, which is why the FBI continues to work alongside the Department of Justice, the Department of Homeland Security, and the Department of War to defend. And Pete Hegseth has been fantastic, by the way, on this too, on other things, but on this too, to defend law and order and combat violent crime, arrest illegal aliens, and make American cities the safest in the world. And when I campaigned, I talked about crime, but I never knew that we were going to get into it like we did. You know, I mean, I used to watch these cities with the murders. Chicago recently had one deal where they had 11 murders in one weekend, and they said, well, yeah, but it was a holiday weekend. They actually told me that was the reason, like it was okay because it was a holiday. It was Labor Day. These people are the worst. They really have to. You better, I tell you what, the people in Chicago and the people in places like that can be fixed. At some point, it gets to where you can't fix it anymore. It's too far gone. And we have some cities like that. But these are great cities that can be fixed. I'm going to be strongly recommending, at the request of government officials, which is always nice, that you start looking at San Francisco. I think we can make San Francisco. There's one of our great cities 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and now it's a mess. And we have great support in San Francisco. Just got off the phone call with President Putin, who's a good call. Good. Are you ready? Yes, sir. You all set? Let's go. Thank you very much. This is very exciting, what we're doing. I want to thank everybody for being here, and I want to thank this group of people. They're incredible people. We just had a call, as you know, with President Putin. I thought it was a very good call, so we'll talk about it maybe later. But it went very well. We're here today to announce a historic victory for American women, mothers, and families. With the actions I will outline this afternoon, will dramatically slash the cost of IVF and the treatment and many of the most common fertility drugs for countless millions of Americans. Prices are going way down, way down. I want to thank Libby Horn, who is the Senior Vice President of Fertility of EMD Serrano. So I want to thank you. Let's see here. That's what I thought. I thought it was you. Thank you, Libby, very much. And let me also thank the Secretary of Health and Human Services, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., whose wife destroyed the people on The View yesterday. I have to say that. I'm not going to ever get into an argument with her. And you've decided, you learned that a long time ago. She did a great job, actually. Secretary of Commerce, Howard Lutnick. Thank you, Howard. Secretary of Labor, Lori Chavez de Rima. Thanks, Lori. Howard, thanks. CMS Administrator, Dr. Mehmet Oz, who's a fantastic guy, and he's done really well. FDA Commissioner Marty McCary. Thank you, Marty. Senator Katie Britt, who got me started with this whole thing when she called up to say there was a bad ruling by a judge, right? We got to do something, sir, and we did it very quickly. Probably in 24 hours it was done. Congressman Richard Hudson, a great guy, and his wife Renee. Richard, hi, Richard. And Advocate Samantha Bush, who's a very respected person. For years, American couples struggling with infertility have faced crushing costs in their quest to start a family, and IVF is among the most expensive treatments of all. A single round of IVF in the United States can cost up to $25,000, can actually go a lot higher than that, and many couples require multiple rounds for a successful pregnancy. A major reason for these high prices is the excessive cost of the drugs involved. The number one fertility drug used in IVF is currently 700% more expensive in the United States than the rest of the world. And you know, we're ending all of that. It's called favored nations, and we're ending it, and we're ending it pretty fast. Nobody thought we'd be able to do it, and we've done it. Drugs are going to come down. Drug prices are coming down 400%, 200%, 600%, numbers that nobody's ever seen before. Great for Medicare, Medicaid, even Social Security. Great for everything, I think, Dr. Oz. So it's something that's, to me, it's very exciting. I'm bugging him and Bobby all the time. How are we doing with that? And we're doing really good, Bobby. Right? It's really going good. Other countries are agreeing to it, because if they don't, we put tariffs on them, and then they agree. So it's amazing. It's amazing how that worked out. But as an example, in London, you'd buy a certain drug for $130, and even less than that, I guess $88 as of a count a month ago. And in New York, you pay $1,300 for the same thing. So now we're going to be paying, instead of $1,300, you'll be paying about $150. And they'll be paying $150 too. We're going to pay the same thing. Favored nations. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. And we've been ripped off by the whole world for a long period of time. One of the most popular fertility drug regimens costs over $5,000 per cycle, as an example. Wow. Largely as a result of these unsustainable prices, 70% of the employers do not offer insurance that covers IVF. Therefore, most couples with fertility challenges are paying these costs entirely out of their own pockets, which is not really possible to do. Oh, look who we have. Look at that, the great Maria Bartiromo. I didn't know, did you get put into the regular pool pack? That's very good. No, that's good. Nice to see you. I'm doing an interview with her in a little while. In the Trump administration, we want to make it easier for all couples to have babies, raise children, and start the families they've always dreamed about. That's why today I'm pleased to announce that after extensive negotiations, EMD Serrano, the largest fertility drug manufacturer in the world, has agreed to provide massive discounts to all fertility drugs they sell in the United States, including the most popular drug of all, the IVF drug Gonal-F. So it's Gonal-F. Is that a proper pronunciation? Close enough, right? Gonal-F. As part of this agreement, EMD Serrano will list their fertility drugs online at trumprx.gov at very, very heavily reduced prices that you won't even believe. And ultimately, that's because of the favored nations. In addition, the FDA will be working with the company to expedite review and approval of another common fertility IVF drug, and currently it's selling in Europe. It's Pergoveris. And that's a sounding nice name. Pergoveris. Why can't you name them nice, simple names? Nice, easy names. Doesn't matter. If it works, that's all we care about, right? Upon approval, this drug would directly compete against a much more expensive option that currently has a monopoly in the American market, and this will bring down costs very significantly. And the other one's going to have to come down also. Finally, EMD Serrano has agreed that all future drugs and everything that it develops and sells in the United States will be offset at most favored nation prices. I've been after this for a long time, and we started the process in the last administration, and then we had a little thing called COVID that came up. We had to focus on that, did a good job on that too. And they'll bring a significant portion of their drug manufacturing back to the United States. So they're going to bring it largely back into the United States, and that's for a lot of reasons, but primarily because of the election result, November 5th, and maybe most importantly because of the tariffs, because if they do it here, there are no tariffs. So we're going to be very close, I think, by the end of this year. We're going to be very close to $20 trillion in investment. As an example, the Biden administration had less than $1 trillion, substantially less than $1 trillion for 4 years, Maria. Can you imagine? 4 years, less than one. We're going to break $20 trillion of investment, and we're already over $17 trillion, and that's in 8 months. Can you believe that? And he was at less than $1 trillion. And in addition to that, he had open borders, allowing millions of people to pour in. What an administration that was. Worst president in history, by far. As a result of these actions, the per-cycle cost of drugs used in IVF will fall by an estimated 73% for American consumers, and the numbers are going to actually be very substantially higher as time goes by when it really kicks in. For most of, I mean, think of those numbers. You know, I told the story last time because we were with Pfizer, and Pfizer's doing something very similar. But I told them that my first term, I was so proud of myself because I was the first president in 28 years where drug prices went down for the year. And you know what they went down? 1/8 of 1%. But I was so 1/8 of 1%. Now I'm getting them down, Maria, 500, 600, 800%. In some cases, even more than that. It's hard to believe. But I was proud. I said, oh, wow, I'm the first one. 1/8 of 1%. And I was proud of that. Now I realize, and I called a news conference. Some of you were at that news conference, actually. And I said, ladies and gentlemen, congratulations. We've gone down by 1/8 of 1%. And now we're going down 500, 600, 700, 800%, Richard. So it's really something. For most administrations and all of the people involved in this kind of thing, this action would be a crowning achievement of their agenda for fertility health. But for us, it's really just the beginning. It's just the start. It's one of many things we're doing. Today, we're also taking historic steps to vastly expand access to insurance coverage for fertility care, including IVF, something that, as you know, was not covered. Effective immediately, for the first time ever, we will make it legal for companies to offer supplemental insurance plans specifically for fertility. That's never been done before. We're signing it in today with what we sign. Americans will be able to opt in to specialized coverage just as they get vision and dental insurance. They're going to get fertility insurance for the first time. So I don't know. I don't know how well these things are covered. I see the the Democrats like to take credit for all of the things we do. We do the things and they take the credit. But I figure if you do enough of these, eventually people are going to figure it out. The Democrats have done nothing. This will make all fertility care, including IVF, far more affordable and accessible. And by providing coverage at every step of the way, it will reduce the number of people who ultimately need to resort to IVF because couples will be able to identify and address problems early. The result will be healthier pregnancies, healthier babies, and many more beautiful American children. It's a big factor. It's a big deal. I'm asking all employers to make these new fertility benefit options available to their employees immediately. The initiatives I've just announced are the boldest and most significant actions ever taken by any president to bring the miracle of life into more American homes. And I will say Katie was great. As you know, she's a great senator from Alabama. She's the first one that told me about this. I had not known too much about it, and we worked very rapidly together, didn't we, though?
Mr. President, you say
we had everything passed, and Alabama then took care of it and passed it. Within a week, everything was done. Really, it was something. So I want to thank Katie, Brett. There's no deeper happiness and joy of raising children, and now millions of Americans struggling with infertility will have a new chance to share the greatest experience of them all. So I'd like to thank all of the people that are here, and I think we'll start with Dr. Oz and Ms. Horn. We'll go through the list and we'll listen. And yesterday I did this, and I stood for about an hour and a half as people spoke. And I said, this time I'm sitting right there, and I'm going to watch you. I stood for an hour and a half like this. I said, you got to be kidding. Here we go. It was one after another, and it was wonderful listening to them. But I said, if I have to do this every day, Bobby, should I stand or sit? Thank you, Bob. Please, Dr. Oz.
Okay. Mr. President, I'm going to jump in here real quick. I want to start by thanking President Trump. Sir, from the very first phone call we ever had, your support was strong. It was steadfast. It was unwavering. And because of you, millions of Americans are going to have a greater opportunity to bring the greatest gift, in my opinion, life into this world. Your support, your administration's support, it's a game changer. All of us here today are aligned. This is a celebration of life. It's a celebration of parents. It's a celebration of families. And it's a celebration for those people who want to one day be parents themselves. I think every parent can attest, and I certainly do myself, that the greatest gift that God has ever given me is the ability to be a mom. We want more people to have that opportunity. We want to make that easier and more affordable. IVF is what makes the difference for so many families that are facing infertility. So you've seen the numbers. It's either 1 in 8 couples, or some people say as much as 1 in 6, are actually experiencing issues with fertility. It's 9% of males and at least 11% of females that are facing these challenges as they work to build their family. The recommendations today that President Trump has set forth are going to expand IVF coverage to nearly 1 million more families, and they're going to drive down cost significantly. Mr. President, this is the most pro-IVF thing that any president in the history of the United States of America has done. And Mr. President, it's your leadership. You are the reason why the Republican Party is now the party of parents. We are the party of families. This is why when Senator Cruz and I worked last year, we got every single Republican senator to sign on and say that they supported nationwide access to IVF. And just for the record, IVF is legal and accessible in all 50 states. And President Trump taking this action today to lower cost, to bring these issues to the forefront, and to enact solutions for people working to start their families. I want you to know it's significant, and there's more to come. But this isn't the only thing that you've done to prove that we're the party of parents and we're the party of families. If you look at the working family tax cut, guys, he made sure that hard-working parents were front and center in that legislation. You know, whether it was child tax credits being expanded and made permanent, whether it was Trump accounts that are going to change the game for so many parents, or whether it was childcare. So for decades, we have heard Democrats talk about childcare. President Trump actually took action on the affordability and accessibility of childcare. We know that 1 in 4 families say that they hesitate to have more children because of the cost and because of childcare cost. For the first time, this man actually took steps to change the dynamics for hardworking parents. So of the 3 tax credits that he reformed and the working families tax cuts, 2 of them had not been touched in 2 decades, and 1 of them had not been touched since 1986. So President Reagan was in office the last time anybody did anything about it. But you changed the game on that, and I was proud to lead that effort in the Senate. And so on behalf of moms and dads, on behalf of grandparents and sisters and aunts and uncles and brothers and people who are looking to expand their family, we say thank you. Thank you for all you do to support families in this country and make a healthier environment and an easier one for us to grow the very most important thing.
Great, thank you.
God bless.
So nice. Thank you very much.
So let's set the stage. Put it in perspective, 2 weeks ago, as President Trump alluded, a leading U.S. drug manufacturer came into this room and agreed to do something none of us thought was possible. A most favored nation agreement with numbers, again, inconceivable. Last week, a company from Europe, a global leader in the pharmaceutical sector, came to this office, made the same kind of commitment for most favored nation pricing, again, because the president insisted on it and was persistent, and he alluded to the fact that he was calling Secretary Kennedy and me quite a bit. He definitely was, with great insights into the process, and would not hold back. But I think what you're seeing today is something even larger. It's larger because we're now showing that MFN is a tool that can get other initiatives going as well. We are revealing perhaps the most important MFN opportunity at all, because it's about procreation. It's about babies. It turns out that MFN is a tool for a lot of things, and it goes without saying that you get the drug pricing down, but lots of other business necessities become possible when that occurs. So Secretary Kennedy and I, who's a wonderful leader, talk frequently about family. I think the reason he's a great leader, and the president as well, is because they have large families and they take pride in the joy that it gives us. But many families, as Senator Britt alluded, do not have the ability to have children. But it turns out that it's about 1 in 3 families, a much higher number, that don't have the number of babies they desire. They're under-babied. So this president committed to address that during the campaign, and he is delivering on that today in a way I don't think anyone thought was possible. We are opening the door with MFN pricing and tariffs that supported Secretary Lutnick with a new approach to make reproductive medicine more affordable for Americans. Now, I know what you're all thinking, and you're probably right, there are going to be a lot of Trump babies. I think that's probably a good thing. But it turns out the fundamental creative force in society is about making babies. It's about creating. And this country, the one that President Trump is leading so beautifully, has been a country of abundance, not scarcity. To have abundance, you have to address the fact that we had 3.6 million babies last year, which is beautiful, 3.6 million miracles. That's 500,000 less babies than we would ideally have had, even to replace our current population. Building on the success of the last 2 weeks, our team, led by the head of Medicare, Chris Klump, who's standing over there, and Ina Hernandez, have negotiated a spectacular MFN deal to reduce the cost of IVF drug prices by $2,200 a cycle. That's nearly half of the price that it had been. The most prescribed drug in this category in America, made by MD Serrano, is described over here, and you'll notice President Trump, these are discounted from $242 to $10. I don't know what the math is on that. We can't even calculate it.
A lot.
It's a lot. It's too high to calculate without a more studied approach. But I give it up there because that number of $10 will apply for every American who earns less than $115,000 a year. That's 70% of the American people. The remaining folks who are able to make more will have to pay a tiny bit more, but it's still most favored nation pricing, no different from what the Europeans are willing to pay. Now, to make this deal happen, Chris and Inma had to do something special. They had to actually not just get the drug price down, but get the middlemen to let it go as well. And Mr. President, we've met with the middlemen in the past. They're now joining the MFN movement. I want to thank Express Scripts Freedom Pharmacy and then CVS's Specialty Pharmacy because they were willing to stand up and do the right thing for the American people by answering the president's call and slashing their prices. Now, this announcement also encompasses a remarkable move from Marty McCary. And Marty McCary is, of course, the leader of the FDA, but he has ongoing efforts to accelerate their approval of innovative medicines that will further reduce the price and make this whole process more seamless for the American people. Now, you're about to hear about a spectacular new program that's been alluded to, but one of the architects of that program, Heidi Overton, Deputy Director of the White House Domestic Policy Council, is going to take us through the exciting details of what this is going to offer for the American people, especially those who are in the workforce. But first, we think you should hear from Libby Horn. Libby is EMD Serrano's head of fertility. She brings both professional expertise and a personal connection to this work. She has 3 beautiful daughters, and she has personally benefited from reproductive medicine that has shaped her family, and her company made today's spectacular MFN pricing possible. Libby.
Thank you, Dr. Oz. Thank you, Mr. President. Today, we gather on this national stage to celebrate a historic step forward in expanding access to fertility treatments for those who need it most. Mr. President, thanks to your leadership and the tireless efforts of your team, this is a momentous day for Americans who struggle but remain hopeful to build their families. Infertility is on the rise in our country. 1 in 8 couples face infertility. This isn't just a number, it's real lives, dreams, and aspirations of hardworking Americans. The teacher who goes to school each day, surrounded by children, but aching for children of her own. The firefighter who puts his life on the line, but can't create the life he wants at home. The consequences of these challenges can take significant tolls. Some of you watching today have given up or are frustrated because access to IVF treatments has been out of reach. That's why expanding access to IVF has been an issue of great importance to the president. He made this clear in his executive order declaring the administration's goal of supporting American families by enabling access and eliminating barriers to IVF. Today, EMD Serrano is proud to help President Trump deliver on his promise to you. Thanks to the president's leadership, EMD Serrano has worked alongside distributors and other partners to help more families have access to services and innovations that are consistent with other countries. Through our partnership with the administration, we are proud to announce that Americans will have access to our leading IVF therapies for an 84% discount off list prices. That's amazing. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you. Thank you for making this possible.
Thank you very much. It's great. Fantastic.
For more than 40 years, EMD Serrano has been a global leader in fertility. Our science was instrumental in the birth of the first IVF baby in the US, and we've helped to bring more than 6 million babies into the world since then. Our purpose is to help create, improve, and prolong life. That means discovering more medicines and bringing them to patients faster. FDA Commissioner McCary has made it a priority to ensure that Americans have access to the world's most innovative treatments as quickly as possible. To that end, EMD Serrano is filing a new IVF therapy called Pergoveris for review under the FDA Commissioner's National Priority Voucher Program. If approved, Pergoveris would combine 2 key reproductive hormones in synergy designed to mimic reproductive physiology. This therapeutic option could mean fewer injections, fewer copays, and lower self-pay cost, all of which make a real difference in the IVF patient experience. In closing, on behalf of EMD Serono, I want to send my heartfelt thanks to President Trump and the entire administration for their leadership and vision in this critical area of healthcare. Together, we will make a difference in the lives of countless families across this nation and uphold our long-standing legacy of creating life. Thank you.
Mr. President, thank you for your bold leadership that's allowed our teams to go far beyond what anyone thought was possible. On behalf of the Domestic Policy Council and Vince Haley here, we would like to also thank all the agency partners and the stakeholders that we worked with to get to the solution today that will make a real impact for families. Specifically, today's historic actions, 4 in total that you see, are made possible by coordination of all of the White House team and 7 agencies, many of who are represented here, and their teams that have worked tirelessly. As you described, Mr. President, the current system isn't working. 7 in 10 Americans don't have coverage to IVF. They face high costs and uncertain outcomes. And there's intense demand for fertility benefits. 65% of Americans say that they would leave their current job just because of fertility benefits. So you asked us to lower costs and to fix the broken incentives in healthcare. In addition to lowering the cost of drugs by 73% or $2,200 per cycle, which if you missed it, most people require 2 or 3 cycles. So that's significant savings for families. I'm also going to briefly outline the new solution for coverage. This is a new fertility benefit option that employers can immediately offer to their employees starting today. This afternoon, the Departments of Labor, Health and Human Services, and Treasury will be releasing guidance that, for the first time, creates a legal pathway for employers to offer fertility benefit packages to people that need them, similar to how dental, vision, and life insurance are currently offered. This will be followed up by a regulation. These benefits can address the continuum of fertility needs, from the root causes of IVF, which Secretary Kennedy is working on very hard at HHS, to it'll be a coordinated package that does not exist in traditional health insurance today. It'll make it easier for employers, including small and mid-sized employers, to compete for talented employees. Currently, many small businesses cannot afford to offer fertility benefits at all. This is making it possible for them to offer benefits the same way that large companies like Amazon and others offer benefits. This is a pro-family benefit expansion that will transform clinical outcomes by addressing fragmented coverage and care. I'm a physician by training, and it's very important that we have high-quality care. Fertility benefit companies are poised to offer packages that have reported so far roughly 25% higher live birth rates for those that seek care compared to those that don't have such benefits. They also report fewer cycles to achieve pregnancy, improved natural pregnancy rates through better care before you need IVF, and reduced chance of miscarriages, a 21% reduction in miscarriage rate. Leading physicians in the field have also relayed that these types of benefits significantly improve the patient and doctor experience, allowing both to focus on care rather than navigating the bureaucracy. These impacts are very personal. Here with us today are my good friends, Congressman Richard Hudson of North Carolina and his wife, Renee Hudson. Both have worked in public service for years, including Renee for all 4 years of your past administration, Mr. President, and they struggled with infertility. Today they have a beautiful son who's their pride and joy. He's an amazing boy, but they also suffered multiple losses throughout their fertility journey, something that is very common. Unfortunately, too many people go through the hard, arduous process of IVF and still result in a miscarriage. So today, your option is not only saving money, it's going to improve the quality of care significantly. This new benefit option simultaneously represents the greatest opportunity to expand coverage of IVF that the federal government has ever taken, while also improving the care delivered. Additionally, and very importantly, it gives employers maximum flexibility to design benefits that are consistent with their values. Put simply, this new fertility benefit option means lower costs and more healthy babies. So today, this announcement, we are realigning the industry towards the simple metric of more healthy babies at lower costs. I would now like to introduce Samantha Bush, the wife of NASCAR driver Kyle Busch, who's who's been a leading advocate for IVF access and affordability after your own infertility journey. Thank you, Mr. President.
Hello, everyone. My husband, Kyle, and I battled infertility for over a decade before being blessed with our 2 beautiful children, Brexton, who's 10, and our daughter, Lennox, who's now 3. But our journey was long and painful. We faced 6 rounds of IVF, multiple miscarriages, multiple failed cycles, and countless moments of heartbreak. We faced the roller coaster of hope and devastation that so many families know all too well. Through it all, we held on to faith, each other, and the belief that somehow, someday, God would turn our pain into purpose. We also saw firsthand the staggering financial burden that comes with infertility treatments. Sitting in the waiting room of our fertility clinic, we overheard another couple quietly say that money was the only thing standing in their way of having their family. In that moment, Kyle and I looked at each other and we knew God was planting a seed in our hearts, a calling to take action. In 2015, that calling became the Bundle of Joy Fund, a nonprofit foundation dedicated to providing financial assistance to couples struggling with infertility. What began as a small act of faith has now grown into something far greater than we could have ever imagined. To date, we've granted over $2 million directly to individuals, helping them pay for their IVF treatments, and we've celebrated the birth of 108 beautiful babies through our fund. Each baby is a living, breathing testament to hope, community, and God's grace. For every tear we cried, for every shot we gave, every doctor's appointment that ended in disappointment, Kyle and I knew there had to be a greater reason. This was God's plan for us, to use our journey to advocate, empower, and be the voice to those battling in silence. Over the past 12 years, we've worked hard to raise awareness, erase stigma, and bring hope to the 1 in 6 couples that will face infertility. Infertility can be incredibly isolating. It can leave you questioning your faith, your body, and your future. But it can also reveal a strength that you never knew you had inside of you. It can deepen love, it can bring couples closer together, and it unites people through a shared struggle. Our goal has always been to show others that they are not alone, that there is a powerful community of infertility warriors behind them. Today, seeing President Trump acknowledge infertility on a national stage is profoundly moving. It's no longer a whispered conversation behind closed doors. It is a recognized, validated struggle that so many families have to endure. His leadership reminds us that those in positions of power can make real and lasting changes for generations to come. Their willingness to bring this issue forward shows that they not only hear our community, but they truly care about us. Thank you, Mr. President, and to your family, for shining a light on infertility and for standing by couples like Kyle and I, for standing by couples who only want to hear the words mommy and daddy, who want to watch our children open their Christmas presents on Christmas morning, who want to see the world anew through the joy in their kids' eyes. Your acknowledgement honors the power of family, faith, and love, the very values that make America the greatest country in the world. It's proof that when promises are made and promises are kept, lives are changed forever. Thank you, Mr. President.
Anybody else? Howard, you would like to say a couple? I was hoping you would say that. Howard, come on up for a second. What a job you're doing. Yeah, say a few words, brother.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you for your vision, your commitment to our country. When my uncle was president, the fertility rate in this country was 3.5%. Today, it is 1.6%. The replacement rate, in other words, the amount of fertility that you need in order to keep your population even, is 2.1%. We are below replacement right now. That is a national security threat to our country. And we know why this is happening. And President Trump is addressing the root causes through his MAHA agenda of reducing endocrine disruptors, the exposure to chemicals that decrease fertility. Today, the average teenager in this country has 50% of the sperm count, 50% of the testosterone as a 65-year-old man. Our girls are hitting puberty 6 years earlier. But also, our parents aren't having children. Parents who want to have children do not have access. I have 7 children. I feel that God has blessed me with that, and I can't imagine how different my life would be if I did not have that blessing. I want to point out also that this morning Harvard University released a study that showed that the obesity rates have now climbed over 70%. And this again is for the same reason we're flooding our kids. We're poisoning mass poisoning a generation of kids with chemicals. President Trump has instructed us to stop these problems at the root cause. He's also recognized that there are people who are injured, people who are not living their life to the fullest, and he's addressing that. Last week, we made GLP drugs available at Most Favored Nation. And this week, it's IVF. Oh, I want to thank you so much for that, Mr. President. I saw on an airplane the other day, you said that you didn't believe that you were going to get to heaven. You're doing God's work here. You've made peace in the Middle East, which is beyond anybody's imagination. And now you're giving millions of Americans a chance to have babies. And you're doing this while the government is locked down by the Democrats. But this administration has not stopped working for the American people. And that's because of your energy, your commitment, your vision, and I want to thank you for allowing me to be part of it.
And he's doing a great job. And by the way, Kyle is fantastic. So he's got a lot of courage. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't care. Howard, you and I would not be good at that. We'd go about 30 miles an hour, but we'd be safe. Anyway, so thank you very much. Any questions, please?
Mr. President. You posted earlier today.
Yeah, please.
Mr. President, this is a major campaign promise that you made. It was a big hot topic towards the end of the election. You're delivering on that again. I actually had a question for Secretary Kennedy or Dr. Heidi. Dr. Heidi, you said something that I thought was really important. You talked about how this coverage option, this benefit option, gives companies the maximum flexibility to design benefits consistent to their values. I was wondering if either you or the President could expand on that and talk about why that's an important thing to understand about this program.
Yes, thank you. It's a great question. We think that employers are best situated to know what them and their employees want to contribute to in relation to their benefits. So employers are going to be able to decide how to cover the root causes of infertility, things like obesity, metabolic health, and other things that are impacting infertility. And also, if they want to encourage their employees to see certain types of doctors, and they can work with providers that are identifying the highest quality fertility providers. And so it puts them in the driver's seat. And our view is that we want employers to be the ones that can make those decisions, not the government. Thank you.
All right. That's a good answer.
Yeah, it was.
That was a very good answer. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, previously you did not seem to be bothered regarding Hamas cracking down on what you called gangs. Actually, a couple of gangs. And today you issued a threat against Hamas on Truth Social. What has changed?
And what was said? Go ahead.
You said if they continue keep killing innocents in Gaza, that if that continues, the United States will go after them.
I know, I issued a strong statement, that's right.
But they used to be gangs, and now you're saying innocents. What made you think they're innocents now?
Well, I'm looking at what's happening, and that wasn't the deal that was made, and we'll see what happens. It's calmed down. It's a tough neighborhood, we know that. We have a commitment from them, and I assume they're going to honor that commitment. I hope they do. And I understand they brought back some additional bodies today. It's a rough deal when you think of it, right? Very rough. We have our hostages back completely. We were very lucky with that. But it's a tough situation. They brought back bodies today, as you probably know. But they also said they're going to behave. We're going to find out if they behave. If they behave good, if they don't behave, we'll take care of it. Yeah, please.
Following up on that, when you
I didn't say you. You CNN fake news. Go ahead.
You said in your post that if they kept killing people in Gaza, we would have no choice but to go in and kill them. So do you mean U.S. forces would go in and take out Hamas?
No, I didn't say who would go in, but somebody will go in. It's not going to be us. We won't have to. There are people very close, very nearby that will go in. They'll do the trick very easily, but under our auspices.
Could I follow up? You also posted about your call with President Putin today, and you spoke about the meeting in Hungary with him. Do you have a timeline or a date set for when?
Yeah, I would say within 2 weeks or so, pretty quick. Marco Rubio is going to be meeting with his counterpart, as you know, Lavrov, and they'll be meeting pretty soon. They're going to set up a time and a place very shortly. Maybe it's already set up. They've already spoken. And I thought it was a very good phone call. I thought very productive. But I'll be meeting with President Putin, and we'll make a determination. Tomorrow I'm meeting with President Zelensky, and I'll be telling him about the call. I mean, we have a problem. They don't get along too well, those two, and it's sometimes tough to have meetings, so we may do something where we're separate but equal. We'll meet and talk parties, but this is a terrible relationship the two of them have, and it's one of those things. I've seen things that nobody would believe, but this is one of them. So we're going to be meeting in Hungary. Viktor Orban is going to be hosting, and it's really something that's time. Last week, over 7,000 people were killed. That's ridiculous. And you know, it doesn't affect our country. We're not losing people. We're not losing Bobby. We're not losing Americans, but they're losing Russians, Ukrainians, mostly soldiers, for the most part, soldiers. And we think we're going to get it. We hope we're going to get it stopped. I thought this would be, because of my relationship with President Putin, I thought this would be very quick. And it's turned out to be, who would think I did Middle East before I did this? We did a total of 8 now, 7 and now 8. And we're going to make this number 9.
Why do you think a second meeting?
So you said you posted that there was great progress. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Was it a shift in Putin's tone? Was it something new he told you? Did he give you any message to give?
You're talking about the whole
President Zelensky tomorrow.
It just seems to me that, look, it's only a field. That's all I've done in my whole life. I've made deals. I know about deals. I do it well. I don't think any president's ever ended a war, frankly. One war, I did 8 of them, Maria, right? And but I don't know, did Bush ever end? Do you think Biden ended a war? Biden started wars because he was stupid. But do you think Biden ended any wars? No, I don't know of anybody that ended wars. I ended 8 of them, and it's going to be 9. I think we're going to have this one done, hopefully soon. But I'll be meeting him probably over the next 2 weeks. First, Marco is going to be meeting. And the vice president, as you know, is very much involved. The whole team is involved. Steve Witkoff will be involved. Yeah, please.
What did you tell them about the Tomahawks? Did you discuss the Tomahawk missiles? Did you discuss?
Well, we talked about it a little bit. Didn't say much, but I do say to you, we need Tomahawks for the United States of America, too. We have a lot of them, but we need them. I mean, we can't deplete for our country. So, they're very vital. They're very powerful. They're very accurate. They're very good, but we need them, too. So I don't know what we can do about that.
Mr. President, why do you think a second meeting with Putin now will yield different results?
Well, I think Alaska actually set a stage, and that wasn't very long ago, but it set a stage. You have to understand, I came into this situation. I didn't start this war. This is a Biden deal. And I came into it, and it was a mess. It could have led to World War III. In my opinion, this could have led to World War III. That won't happen, but it could have. So I came in, this war was raging. When I left, this wasn't even a thought. For 4 years, nobody talked about it. I spoke to President Putin about Ukraine. It was the apple of his eye, but there was never going to be doing anything like this. And this all went because of some really bad decisions that were made. And look what you have. You have millions of people dead. You have just a horrible, horrible situation. I'm doing it to save souls. That's all I'm doing it for. I'm not doing it for us. We have an ocean between us. I'm doing it also to help Europe. They want to have it ended, but they're unable to do it. I'm able to do it. So I think we'll be successful. We'll save a lot of lives. It should have been done. Should have never started. This would have never happened if the election weren't rigged. This would have never happened. But it did happen, and I'll get us stopped. Okay.
You mentioned a $1,300 drug at the top of this. Were you referring to the weight loss drugs?
Yeah, I was referring to Ozempic or the fat loss drug.
So those are going to be $150 out of pocket for Americans?
They'll be much lower. They'll be much lower. Yeah, go ahead.
We have not negotiated those yet. We're going to be rolling these out over time. The GLP category of drugs, which includes Ozempic, have not been negotiated yet.
What's the timeline for that?
But it will. It'll come down, like everyone else.
Okay. Any timeline on those negotiations?
No, but I think those are going to come down pretty fast, and we do have, I guess, some alternative.
The president will be happy with the result, and until he is, we're not going to close those negotiations. Thank you.
Except it will happen.
Got it.
Mr. President, what's your message to pro-life conservatives? Some pro-life conservatives have religious objections to IVF and are already critical of this policy. What's your message to them?
I don't know about the views of that. I'm just looking to do something because, pro-life, I think this is very pro-life. You can't get more pro-life than this. Please.
Mr. President, you've been talking about how this new benefit plan will also include root cause treatments for infertility. How will you make sure that those root cause treatments are equally accessible to IVF?
Well, I think we're going to be doing that. Would anybody like to talk about that subject?
I'll comment
Please.
on the rulemaking process. I think it's the determination, again, Secretary of Labor, the determination, the Department of Labor is issuing their intent today to open up the rulemaking process, again, for more flexibility. Anytime that you have a president who's leading when you can offer more access to health care at a lower rate is a benefit to the American people and to the end user, and that's exactly what he's doing. And so you heard before that through the Q&A guidance that was issued today with the other agencies, that will give guidance to our employers and the employees about what the flexibility of that is, and then again opening that rulemaking process for further determination of the access that can be had offered in those benefits for all different types of health care access is the goal of the Department of Labor.
Good answer.
Thank you.
I like this better. They can do better than me. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, do you think
Good job, Larry. You're doing a fantastic job.
Thank you, Mr. President.
I shouldn't tell, I won't say it, but I will not say that she was recommended by the Teamsters. Can you believe it? And she's turned out to be a gem, an absolute gem. You're doing a great job. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, John Bolton was just indicted. Do you think we can see your deal-making skills applied to the government shutdown anytime soon?
Well, look, I mean, all we want to do is just extend. We don't want anything. We just want to extend, live with the deal that they had. They want to spend $1.5 trillion on illegal immigrants, and they want to destroy health care for everyone else. And it's crazy. It's crazy. People that are here illegally, they want to spend $1.5 trillion. So we're just not going to do it. No, we have to take care of our health care. Now, we're doing that today, and we're doing it with, favored nations, the most favored nations. Your costs are going to be dropping greatly. And I'm really happy that it's at the beginning of my administration, because I did insulin and got it down to like $25, but it doesn't kick in. It didn't kick in for 2 years by statute, so it couldn't kick in. And I said, boy, I hope I win this election, because if I don't, somebody else is going to take credit for it, Bobby. And sure as can be, Biden said he didn't even know what the hell was happening, and it was a hard thing for me to do. I got insulin way down. What was it before that? It was just massive. It was impossible to afford. And sure as can be, because it was statute, it couldn't have been earlier. I said, boy, this falls into the next administration. I better win. And all of a sudden, I watch this Biden taking credit for something that I did. And on other things, too. We had a lot of things kick in. So the nice part about this is at the beginning of our administration. So I think we're going to see the fruits of our labor. And I hope on our other situation that we've talk so much about autism. I hope we're going to see some very good results based on the recommendations that we made. And, we have time to watch those results.
Mr. President, John Bolton was just indicted by a grand jury in Maryland. Do you have a reaction to that?
I didn't know that. You told me for the first time, but I think he's, a bad person. I think he's a bad guy. Yeah, he's a bad guy. It's too bad, but that's the way it goes.
The case against him?
That's the way it goes, right? That's the way it goes. Will I what?
Have you reviewed the case against him?
No, I haven't. But I just think he's a bad person. Okay, anybody else?
What's the timeline for the IVF drug through the National Commission on Priority Review Voucher? Dr. McCary?
What do you think, Doctor?
Yeah. So, first of all, the National Priority Voucher Program says we're going to proactively at the FDA look for amazing treatments like this IVF treatment. We're going to reach out to the companies, and if it's in line with the president's national priorities, we're going to put those drugs at the front of the line and get a decision out in weeks instead of a year. And so today we announced 9 drugs that are going to be recipients. These are products where the manufacturing is going to be in the United States, or it's meeting a large unmet public health need, like a diabetes drug we announced today. Or it is a product where you're going to see an affordability phenomena because the prices are getting equalized in line with the president's most favored nation status goal.
Wow, that's great. Why didn't I have him speaking? So could have saved a lot of time. Thanks, Manny. I'm not surprised. Yeah, please.
Yes, thank you, President. So Senate Majority Leader John Thune today said he'd like to proceed with the bill which would put sanctions on Russia. What's your thought on that?
Well, we're going to see. He doesn't know about the call yet. I'm going to speak to him later. And it was subject to what I wanted to do. And so we'll see what happens. This may be such a productive call that we're going to end up, we want to get peace. We want to stop the killing. 7,000 people a week, can you believe it? We want to stop the killing. So I'm going to speak to him and the Speaker, Mike Johnson. I'll speak to them a little bit later and I'll tell them about this. And we'll make the right determination. I'm not against anything. I'm just saying it may not be perfect timing. It could happen in a week or two. But it's at my option, as you know.
Right, but did President Putin try to dissuade you from selling Tomahawk missiles?
Well, of course. What do you think he's going to say? Please sell Tomahawks? Is he going to say, please sell those Tomahawks? I really appreciate it. I did actually say, would you mind if I gave a couple of thousand Tomahawks to your opposition? I did say that to him. I said it just that way. He didn't like the idea. He really didn't like the idea. No, I said it that way. You have to be a little bit lighthearted sometimes, but no, he doesn't want Tomahawk is a vicious weapon. It's a vicious, offensive, incredibly destructive weapon. Nobody wants Tomahawk shot at him.
Did he specifically ask you not to provide Tomahawks?
So, wouldn't anybody? I mean, it's been in the news. Who wouldn't do that? CNN. Who wouldn't do that? Do you think he's going to say, I'd love to have Tomahawk sent my way? I don't think so. Maria, we have one of the great stars of television here, and she's an incredible person. And she's just an amazing woman she got it all right. She got the Russia hoax right. She got everything. Would you have a question?
Yes, Mr. President. I would ask you why this was so important to you, IVF, and why was autism so important to you? What are you trying to achieve?
Well, autism is like a whole different thing. When you look at it was 1 in 20,000. Now it's 1 in 12. If you look, Bobby, we have different numbers, but 1 in 12, 1 in 28, 1 in 32. There's a couple of different numbers out there, but it's 1 in a very, very different number than it used to be. It used to be 1 in 20,000, and that was not that long ago, 20 years ago or so. And now they had something for boys, for babies, baby boys. It's 1 in 12. I heard 1 in 10, Bobby. I heard another one, different lists. But when you think of that, it's not even sustainable, but there's something artificial. When that happens, that's not like a natural. And then you have certain groups of people that literally don't have autism, and they're not taking some of the things that we're taking. So we're working very hard. And on IVF, it's just that I have friends, including Katie, that called me and they told me the importance of it. I wasn't that familiar with it. Now I think I've sort of become the father ever since I heard. There was a bad decision in Alabama where a judge wanted all clinics to be immediately closed, right? And Katie called up and you said you were pretty strongly attacked by your friends that you didn't even know were involved with IVF, right?
You had people that had grandkids, people who'd gone through IVF themselves, telling their story and saying there are people with hope out there.
Tell what you did when you heard from your friends. You said this was not, they almost became violent. Right?
Yeah, I told him, I said, Mr. President, we need you. We need your voice in this conversation. We need the directive. We need the strong support because there are millions of people out there, moms and dads, wanting to bring life into the world. And you had people, the chilling effect that occurred across Alabama, there were people that were in the middle of that process that had been praying to have a child, and that was halted. And so the reality of that was very stark in our state. And so I was able to tell the president some of the stories of people, friends and grandparents and relatives that told me what they had experienced and also, what they were fearful of in the future. And the president very quickly acted, spoke with a strong voice, and really led the way. Obviously, we saw Democrats continue to fearmonger for the remainder of the year, trying to use it as an election issue when actually IVF is legal and accessible in all 50 states. And President Trump very clearly said where he was on this. And he said, I'm going to make sure that this is more accessible and that it is more affordable for families coast to coast. That's exactly what he did, but it's that real life, there's real life stories, sir, that he responded to. And that's what people don't know about him. He cares. And when you tell him what American people are dealing with, he wants to do something about it. You have leaders and politicians that come before him that want to talk about things. President Trump wants to actually make things happen. That's exactly what he did here, and I'm so grateful, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. So we will go back to what we're doing. Working again with Marco and with JD and a few of the people on the war, and we're doing a lot of other things also. The economy is unbelievable. It really is. It's been incredible. And I think one of the great numbers that I've ever heard, think of it, over $17 trillion being invested in our country. And when you think of, compare that to the last administration, but really compare it to any administration, compare it to any country. There's never been a country with anything like that. That's in a period of 8 months. And we've already broken every record possible. There's never anything even close. So we'll go back to all of that. Prices are down. Oil is down. We're down $58 a barrel. We're going to be hitting $2 for gasoline. I think we're going to be at $2. And the previous administration, they were at $4 and $5. They were going up much higher. And then they swung back into my things, but they didn't swing back properly. They were very, very late. They really blew it. We had it really going in the right direction. They came and took everything out, and it's incredible. I'll never forget. They lost control of the price of gasoline, of oil. They totally lost control, Howard, and then they went back immediately. Well, let's go back to Trump. But by that time, it was too late, and they didn't go back because the leases and everything else. They didn't do what they had to do. They wouldn't know. They really didn't know how to. But we could be hitting close to $2 a gallon. I'd love to break it if we could, but we could be. And when that comes down, everything else has been coming down. Groceries are down. The price of things are down. And honestly, the simplicity is if you can get oil down, it's such a big category, everything follows. So just about everything follows. And we are working on beef. And I think we have a deal on beef that's going to bring the price of beef. That would be the one product that we would say is a little bit higher than we want it, maybe higher than we want it. And that's going to be coming down pretty soon, too. We did something. We worked our magic. But groceries are down, and energy is down, electricity is way down. We have the prices coming down for people. They were abused for 4 years by the Biden administration. Thank you very much, everybody. We'll see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Really